Hey y'all, No here. In 2015, I took my very first road trip, and it was way before the No Mobile. I actually traveled in a Ford Fiesta, and I had a tent and stayed mostly in motels. But I went to Glacier National Park, Waterton Lakes National Park, which is just across the border from Glacier. Went to Yellowstone National Park, and I went to Grand Tetons National Park. And I crammed all that into a 2 week period of time. And that's including the driving out there and the driving back. So it was really packed full. It's the first time I'd done anything like that. In the past, I had always flown wherever I was going to and then rented a car. But in 2015, I decided I wanted to kind of get a taste of what this country is like, and you can't really do that from, 30,000 feet up in the air. So I decided on that trip I was going to drive. So I went to those 4 parks, had a great time. The last park I went to was the Grand Tetons National Park. And it was tiring. The whole trip was tiring. And I guess because it was at the end of the trip, it was even more tiring. But I'm going to read you an entry from my journal from Grand Tetons. So at the end of the day, I wrote this. A man's just got to know his limitations, and I realize mine today. I tried to hike the Paintbrush Canyon Trail today, and I couldn't even make it halfway up. I'm just not the man I used to be, so I've decided I'm retiring from hiking. The pain just outweighs the enjoyment that I get from it. And so I came home, and I was true to that decision. I gave away my backpack. I gave away my tent. I gave away everything that I had that was associated with hiking. And so I just decided I was through. I just couldn't do it anymore. Well, I kind of regretted giving away all that stuff, but in a way I didn't, because I gave it up for something better. Didn't take too long before the hiking bug started to bite me, and I got that restlessness down in my soul, and so I thought, well, maybe I made a rash decision, as most emotional decisions tend to be. And so I thought, maybe there's a way that I can still keep hiking and not cause myself so much pain. So I really got to thinking about it and praying about it. And so I decided, if I'm going to try this again, I've got to hike smarter, not harder. And so what I came up with that I now use for day hikes is this fanny pack. It's a lot lighter, and you can only carry the bare essentials. In the past, I always had an attitude of be prepared for anything, and I still have that attitude to a degree, but in a much lighter and manageable weight and way to carry that weight. So this particular fanny pack can actually carry 3 liters of water. This is a liter and a half. This is a liter and a half. And 3 liters of water should always unless you're in the desert or someplace like that, be plenty of water to last you for 1 day. Also carry the chlorine tablets in case I do get stranded somewhere. I can actually purify water if I can find a water source, and usually you can. I carry normally a thermal top in here, and I have started wearing actually thermal underwear even in the summertime when I backpack or when I hike. I used to wear the zip-off hiking pants, but I've decided that I really like wearing the thermals better, because with the zip-off pants, it's a real hassle to zip them off and then put them back on. What I found is if I wear thermals, they're pretty waterproof, and if it's hot, I just roll them up above my knees. If it starts raining or something, I roll them down. I don't carry rain pants anymore because water won't kill you. Cold will, but water won't. So I carry just a little clear plastic emergency poncho in case it rains. And I carry a waterproof emergency bivy in this little bag. Believe it or not, this little bag will actually unfold into a Mylar bivy that's waterproof and will keep you alive if you get stranded out in the wilderness overnight. I carry a couple of big lighters and fire starter, so that if I do get stranded, I can make a fire. I can carry enough energy bars and stuff like that I can last overnight. For that matter, you can last several days without food anyway. Small first aid kit, and just the absolute bare minimums that I could ever need to be able to survive overnight or for a few days in an emergency situation. So that took care of the day hiking. And what I went to for backpacking was a Gossamer Gear Mariposa 60. And it's a good pack. But the problem I've always had with any pack that I've worn is the shoulder straps. The shoulder straps are really what cause me most of the pain that I feel when I'm day hiking or backpacking. And I've experimented with my Mariposa 60, to try and take as much of the weight off the shoulder straps as I could. But I still have problems with packs with shoulder straps. And I searched for a pack that didn't have any shoulder straps, and there is one alternative out there. It's called the Me E2 backpack, and you can Google that. But it's really a fairly low capacity pack, and not really big enough for backpacking. It's more of a day hiking size pack. So what I am attempting to do is to build my own backpack, since there's really not a high capacity pack out there that has no shoulder straps. So I'm endeavoring to design and build my own backpack just for my own, that's going to be made just for me, the size that I need, the capacity I need, the lack of shoulder straps. And you're probably wondering just how I'm going to do this. And I've got some ideas in mind. It's going to be a pack with an external frame, which, I haven't seen one of those in years and years. But I'm really excited about trying to do something different that nobody's done before. And hopefully, if it all works out, you're going to be able to make your own backpack too, out of materials that are ready, available, and fairly cheap to buy, so that you can make your own backpack that's designed especially for you and what you need, without shoulder straps. So if I'm able to do that, you will see this video. If I'm not able to do this, you'll never see it at all. But I really believe that I can do it. So I'm going to take a time out for right now and do some thinking and design work. And then I will carry on with the video as I start to develop the design and the build of it. Okay, so the first step in designing your pack is going to be to figure out what size and shape you actually want your pack to be. And so what I'm doing is I found a corner in my house, and I've stacked up some boxes here to represent roughly the size of the pack that I want. So what you have to start with is to find the choke point of your pack. And what I mean by that is there's always something that's going to go in your pack that, because of its size or its shape or its weight, everything else has to fit around it. So for me, that is this bear canister. And I just happened to find this stuff sack that actually holds the bear canister and my sleeping bag. So this actually has a tall, skinny bear canister inside it, and then I've got my sleeping bag wrapped around it and then stuffed inside this sack. Now, I always use a hydration pack. So what I've done is, instead of filling this with water, I've actually just blown it up with air. It's going to take up the same volume, but the way I want to carry this bear canister and the hydration pack is, hydration pack is going to go in the front of the pack like this, and then the bear canister is going to go right behind it, because I always like to keep the weight in as close to my body as possible. And normally the water that you carry is going to be the heaviest thing that you are carrying, although this bear canister is a close second, and then actually might be heavier than the hydration pack. So I could possibly even put the bear canister in front and then put the hydration pack behind it, because my hose is long enough to reach either way. But whether the hydration pack is in front or in back, it's going to take up the same amount of volume. So this is going to be my determining factor on how deep from my back to the back of the pack. So I'm going to be here, and so the pack is going to come out this way like any other pack does. So this is going to determine how much space I need behind me in the pack in that direction. So this is going to be the distance that I need in that direction. Now, so what I have left to determine is then how wide does my pack need to be? And so to do that, I'm just going to start packing stuff in the space. You can see I've got laid out everything that I normally put in my pack. Biggest thing is probably going to be my tent. But what I'm going to do is just pretend that this is an actual pack, and so I'm going to start packing things around it just like it would be in a backpack. And of course, this height right here, that's going to determine how tall my pack needs to be. And as you can see, it's going to be pretty tall, okay? But that's the beauty of designing your own pack, is you can design your pack around what you are going to carry, not just buy a pack and then try to make all your stuff fit into a pack that somebody else designed. So I'm going to pack all my stuff in here. It's going to take a while, but you get the general idea of how you're going to do it. So, you know, just find an empty corner and then get you some empty boxes, or really just anything that you can use to represent the back wall of your backpack. Pack your stuff in there, take your time, you know, figure out which is going to be the best way, maybe even take a picture of it once you figure out how you're going to pack stuff in your pack. And then that's going to let you know what the dimensions of your pack frame need to be. Okay, this is why you actually want to do the work and not just guess at it. Because what I found was, after I actually put some food in the bear canister, this gives you a nice look at it, by the way. It's called a grub hub. A grub can. And as you can see, it's long and skinny, which I really like. I wish somebody would design a bear canister that was square instead of round, because the round shape wastes a lot of space in your pack. So if anybody out there, if there's any engineers listening out there that have the means to do so, please design a square bear canister. So this actually weighs 9 pounds with food in it. My hydration pack weighs 5 pounds. So I decided it was more important to keep the weight in close to my back as opposed to trying to keep it all in the center of my back. So I've got 9 pounds here. I've got a 5 pound hydration pack here. I've got everything else in between it. So I'm hoping that that's going to balance out pretty good. There's really only one way to tell, and that's to go ahead and build the thing. But anyway, so the rough dimensions I'm going to start out with, I'm going to make it about 10 inches this way. And then we're going to be about, my pack is trying to grow on me a little bit. Yeah, so about 20 inches that way. And then, of course, the grub hub, or the grub can, it's going to be the deciding factor vertically. And that looks like about 22 inches or so. I'm going to allow a little bit extra up here on top to make a lid that I can put stuff in that I need to get to while I'm on the trail. So yeah, 10 by 20 by about 22, and then allow some extra on top for the lid. So what you want to do is, I'm making my prototype out of PVC pipe. That may be strong enough, or it may not be strong enough. But it'll give me a rough idea of how everything is going to balance. And you'll see it as we go along. But PVC is so easy to work with, so you can always make it your frame a little bit bigger than you think it's going to need to be and cut it down. You can take it off, but you can't put it back, as they say. So if you want to make it a couple inches bigger in each dimension, you can always cut it off and make it smaller if it needs to be smaller. So anyway, that's the dimensions I'm going to start with. And so that's my starting place. That should be your starting place too. So you can see kind of how everything's packed in here pretty good. So once you decide your dimensions, then you can actually start assembling your pack frame. And that's going to be a little bit later. But it'll look like instantaneous to you with editing. But trust me, it's going to take more than that long to build it. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut out my pattern, and I'm not trimmed it up close to the lines yet. So basically the way it's going to work, okay, so I've got it sitting this way. This is the rear of the pack. This is the front of the pack. This is the part that's going to go against your back. And basically you're just going to wrap it up like a Christmas present. So this part here is going to wrap around from this side. This part here is going to wrap around from the other side. Didn't quite have enough material to reach, but ideally this is going to reach all the way to this other post. And the only thing that you have to make sure that you get done accurately is to make sure your dotted lines end up right on the corners, and or as close to them as you can make them go. And these are fitting pretty well. So then once we get this all taped in and it's in place, we'll trim off the extra that we didn't need. And then we're going to take this piece, and then it's going to wrap around this, and then on the top, and then it will be covered on all 6 sides. I'm going to use duct tape to tape all this in place. I'll spare you the monotony of watching me tear duct tape, but I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I get it all taped and trimmed up. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my pack frame all wrapped up in plastic. You can probably also see that it is huge. This is my bare canister here, and it is 22 inches tall. So you can see how big this pack really is. I could probably easily fit 2 kindergartners inside here, and they wouldn't even have to squat down. But I wanted to go ahead and show you this because, my policy is to try and keep it real. So I don't want to make building this pack look harder than or easier than it is. But I also want you to benefit from the mistakes that I have made and probably will make before I get this thing finished too. But it wasn't a total loss. I did learn a couple of things. One thing that I learned was that I probably should have, instead of trying to wrap around the frame horizontally first. I probably should have wrapped the vertical part first, but that can still be done. So it kind of give you a 360 tour of it. So this part right here is what I'm calling the front of the pack. This is the part that has the uprights that you can't see, and that's part of what I learned. But this is going to be the part that would go against my back. And then you can see I've cut the plastic to kind of make a lid that opens like that. Right, and then this is looking down inside the pack itself. So here you can see the two upright bars. And of course the problem is this plastic needs to be on this side of the bars, because with the plastic on this side of the bars, whenever I try to put my chest strap on, the chest strap is going to have to attach here and here to these bars. And with the plastic on this side, the only way that can be done is to cut a place for the straps to go on in, and of course for a place for the waist belt to attach down here to the horizontal bar. So this horizontal bar and these two upright bars, they need to be exposed on the outside. So that's gonna take, making some changes to the way that I actually wrap this thing. But I can still learn something from this iteration, because what I'm trying to do with one hand, by the way, is to be able to basically build the pack around this bear canister. So this is going to be the position that I want the bear canister to ride. Right up front, right against my back, as close to my back as it can get. And so what I'm hoping to do is to be able to cut this dimension back and see if I can fit everything that I need to carry in this space right here. So what I'm going to do to try and figure out if I can or not I'm just going to see if I can find me a big piece of cardboard to slide in behind this to kind of block this back section off, and then just stuff some pillows or something down in there to hold it steady, and then see if I can get everything packed around this bear canister. And then that's going to let me know, if I need to take some off the top, which I really do need to, because this is a good 30 inches tall. So I'm going to kind of look like a giraffe going down the trail if I don't shorten this some. But anyway, that will help me to at least figure out how big this compartment needs to be. So it wasn't a total waste, but hopefully with me going through this, it'll help you to maybe avoid a step or two even. I'm hoping that you may be able to do your pack without even having to make a pattern. But, that's up to you. All right, so I'm going to see if I can pack this thing. I'll get back to you whenever I get that finished. So as you can see, I was able to fit everything into the space I had. So now I know the final dimensions that I want my pack frame to be. Okay, I've got the frame finished, or almost finished. I got one more step left to go. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller than it was last time you saw it. And I've actually been able to trim it down so that I can put this bear canister right in the middle and fit everything else around it just like I wanted to. The only thing that I've got left to do for the frame is to make a platform that will attach here, 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 and here, and will go across. And what I'm going to make it out of is I found this hard side storage container at Walmart. I was trying to find something around the house I could use, but I didn't have anything that was quite big enough. But this is kind of a better lid anyway, and it's kind of solid. And the great thing about it was this dimension right here is just about exactly what I needed for it to be. So what I'm going to do is just saw out a piece of the lid, and then it will go on top of here, and then all the weight of the pack is going to sit on this platform so that there won't be any weight on this upper part at all except for the lid that's going to fold over and close on top of it. Turned out pretty good. I was able to keep it nice and square. I think I went over how many screws I used last time in all the joints, 3 on all of these bottom ones. For right now, I've only got 1 screw in each joint on the top because it's not going to be supporting very much weight at all. But if I find that I need it, I can go back and add it later. One of the things that I'm going to need for my pack to do is to store it in my van. I'm going to need to be able to actually fold this pack up. So this top part will fold down, the bottom part will fold up, and I can actually store it in a nice small space in the van. Bet you never saw a pack that you could do that with before. But that's the beauty of building your own pack. You can make it do what you want it to do instead of trying to conform to a pack that somebody else made. So I'm going to go saw out this bottom platform, and I'll check back with you when I get that done. All right, I ran into a couple of small problems when I started to both make and place the platform and attach it to the frame. I think I may have mentioned this before, that in order for me to carry this pack around, I actually need to be able to fold it up so that I can hang it on the wall of my van. So I've actually taken the screws loose that I will need to take loose in order to fold it up. So all I have to do is take the screws out of this elbow on each end, and that'll let this part fold down. And then same thing on these elbows down here. I'll take the screws out, and that will let this part fold up. And then, so that folds down into a pretty small footprint. It only sticks out about 6 inches or so, which is no more than my old pack used to stick out. But you can probably already see some things that I had to do in order to be able to do that. And The main thing that I had to do was these notches that I cut in the platform there. Because without those notches, I can fold it up to about right there, and then it hits this T down here and won't go any farther. Now, you probably won't need to do that to your pack unless you're a van person like I am, and you're going to need to fold it up to transport it or store it or something like that. Now, something else that I didn't foresee either is I was originally planning on this platform to come all the way out and rest on top of this bar right here, which is where my hip belt is gonna, this piece of pipe is gonna slide up through my hip belt. But you have to have a gap in between here, because when I start putting the cover on the pack, this platform is actually going to go down inside the pack itself, and then these screws will go all the way through. The pack material is going to be underneath here, so the screw is going to go through this platform, through the tarp material that I'm going to cover my pack frame with, and then screw into this bottom piece. Now, because I found that I could not let the platform rest on top of this bar, I had to put a second bar across here to be able to add some stability to this platform. And so the way you want to drill the holes to attach both this plate and to make the screw holes that come through the other side is to drill them from this side. Okay, and you can see I've drilled a pilot hole here, 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 and here, which is where my platform is going to attach to the frame itself. Okay, and the reason you want to do it that way is because if you set this on top of your pack frame and then you try to figure out where to drill the holes, well, you can't see what you're drilling in underneath there. So if you drill it up from the bottom, make sure you've got a long enough drill that can reach all the way through from here and then come all the way through on the other side. Then everything will line up. So what you want to do is do 2 holes, put the screws in, and then turn it upside down like this and drill the other 2. That way the two screws that you've already put in there will hold everything steady while you drill the holes for the other 2. So, speaking of that, I guess I might as well go ahead and put those screws in. And I just drilled these, so this will be a real test of how well this method works. And I usually don't tighten them all the way up until I get all 4 screws started. And I think I mentioned before that I've been using number 6 sheet metal screws that are zinc plated. so that we don't get any rust on any of these screws. Because if your screws start to rust, it's going to be a big mess. Okay, so now you can see that is nice and solid. I've still got a space right here to attach my hip belt. So we're almost ready to start putting the cover around this frame. I've just got one last thing to do. That is to make some rubber washers, because when I put these screws through the bottom of the pack material, the cover of it, I'm actually going to end up with a hole in the pack material itself. So I'm going to make some rubber washers, and I've got a special method that I'm going to use to attach them. So let me make those, and I'll come back and show you how an easy way for you to put those on. Okay, I saved one gasket to show you how to actually make them. So what I did is I just laid off some 5/8 inch squares in this 1/8 inch thick gasket material. And you can actually use the same drill bit, just drill a hole in the center of each square to make your washer. And then we're just gonna cut it out. I just did a whole bunch of them at one time. I'm just saving this last one to let you see how I did it. So all you gotta do is take a 3-penny nail, works well, it's about the right size, stick it through the hole. Then you're just going to take some super glue always remember, less super glue works better than more. Make sure you get it all the way out on the edges especially. And then just take your nail, stick it down through the hole. I like to hold it in place for about 30 seconds. This may be a little bit of overkill, putting all these gaskets on, but I really want to make sure that I don't get any leakage through my pack cover. That way I don't have to use any kind of liner on the inside of the pack. And so that holds the gaskets in place nice and secure. So then when you actually want to put the base plate on, just take your nail, stick it through the hole, and then set it down on top there, and that will line your hole up so that you can put the screw through. I'm not actually going to put the base plate on mine now, but you see how to do it, because I'm just going to have to take it right back off when I start putting the pack cover on. Okay, at long last, I'm finally ready to start putting the cover on the pack frame. So if you've got a big living room or carpeted area, it sure is going to make it a lot easier for you if you can just lay out your tarp and be able to crawl around on it. I've actually nailed down the corners of the tarp and not really pulled it real tight, but pulled it enough to get most of the wrinkles out, and that'll help you a bunch too. So what I'm going to start with is I'm just going to lay out my main rectangle to start with, and then I'll mark the fold lines after that. If you have, I'm using this big drywall square to help keep my 90-degree angles precise. If you don't have one, you can do it without going out and buying one. It'll just mean probably a little bit more measuring than it would need otherwise. So the size rectangle I'm going to need to cover my frame is going to be 68 inches by 80 inches. And it's kind of shocking when you see just how much material it takes to cover such a small pack frame, but that really, I mean, I'm allowing a little bit extra, about 3 inches extra on each side, but it's amazing how much material it's going to take, almost this whole piece of material here to have enough to cover it. So anyway, 68 inches by 80 inches is what this one's going to measure. And I've already shown you previously how to decide how much material it takes. And I'm using a Sharpie marker here. I hope I'm going to be able to see okay. This is a dark green on one side and a dark blue on the other side tarpaulin. And I'm using a black marker, which not sure how well that's really going to show up, but so far it's looking okay. Okay, so there is 48, so I need 20 more inches. Yeah, almost made a bad mistake there. I need a piece that's 68 by 80, but the 80 needs to be on this side. So I may end up measuring 3 times and cutting once. Okay, so there is
That's 80 inches. And we're going to need 68 in this direction. Yep, 68. And another reason for allowing a little bit of extra material is, this material has some stretch to it and some wrinkling to it. It's not like you're measuring a dimension out on a board that's nice and, solid and won't bend or anything like that. Always cut material off, but it's really hard to put it back. Yep. I think I'm going to do the 68 on that end first. So with this long edge, my T-square to line up the next measurement. Okay, there's 68. Measure this side one more time just to make sure before I keep going. Yep, that's 80 inches. And well, I've got my tape measure set on 80. Let's do this other 80-inch side. to see where that line ends. That's so much glare. I think that's it right there. Definitely gonna double check that. Every now and then you'll be making a line with your Sharpie, and your Sharpie will stop writing before you get to the end of the line, and you think the marker was marking the whole way, and sometimes it's not. Let's see, there it is. 68. Yes. So my Sharpie was marking all the way to the end of the line. Okay, now for the 80-inch side. Well, I almost got too close to the edge here, and that just goes to show that, you know, there is some stretch in this material because this is the first corner, and it's about 2.5 inches from the edge. This corner up here is going to be only about 1.5 inches from the edge. So, yeah, don't get too close to the edge when you cut yours. Otherwise, you might have to do it all over again. Or, I mean, measure yours. If it runs off the edge, don't cut it. Remark it. Okay, and this will tell me just how close I got, because if I have 90-degree corners, this dimension right here should measure 68 inches. And I'm almost afraid to look because, well, that's not too bad. I'm half an inch off. With the wrinkling in this material and it's the stretch that it has in it, I think that's pretty good. But it does go to show how the drywall T-square really does help you to be more accurate. Don't know if these tarpaulins come in colors other than blue and green. Well, if I had a piece of orange tarp, that would be great. But I've never seen any orange tarp that I can recall. But it'd be a great color in case you had to have an emergency rescue of some kind. It's really hard to see. I turn the lights off when I get ready to cut it because the glare off of it is what's making it hard to see. Okay, that looks pretty good, best I can tell. All right, that's step number one. So I'm going to stop the camera here and just cut this piece of material out. I decided to go ahead and mark off the rest of the lines on my tarp material while I had it stretched out like this. I got to thinking, if I cut it out, then I'm just going to have to re-nail it back down to the floor again. So I'm going to mark off all my lines while I've got it nice and flat here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to find the center of the rectangle that I've drawn off. And I'm going to use a snap line to do that. If you don't have one, you can just take a piece of regular string and what you're going to do is just put one end of the string in one corner. I've got a nail over there, so if you've got a friend that can hold the line for you. I don't have anybody around here that can hold it for me. And haven't used it in a while. Hopefully there's still some chalk left in it. Not enough, I say that. Oh, I can't see that at all, hardly. Try that again. Nope. Maybe I can shake it up a little bit. Sure hope so. Okay, let's give that another try. Kind of see it if I got the light shining on it just right, but it's hard to see anything on this color. Yep, there's the corner. Well, not sure if that's going to work or not. Takes a little bit of imagination to figure out where the line is. It doesn't have to go all the way across. Oh, by the way, I realized that my tarp is kind of dirty. I didn't realize how dirty until I reviewed the video and saw how black my knees are. I also apologize for my head being cut off to a degree. Probably doesn't bother you that much. But this is such a big piece of material that just couldn't get the camera far enough away. To be able to get a good shot of it. Well, that's not any better going that direction either. But there's my intersection right there. So I can see that. You know, I can't see much farther. Yep, I'm pretty sure that is where it is. Oops, lost it. Ah, here it is. Put my screwdriver there so I don't lose it. And the reason we need to know where the precise center of the rectangle is. Okay, this is going to be the bottom of the pack. Well, maybe we'll get down here so make sure you can actually see it. Okay, so this is going to be, okay, this is going to be the bottom of the pack. So everything else is going to be measured off of the center of this platform here.
Okay, we're almost ready to start putting the cover on the pack. But first I wanted to show you what I'm going to use to actually attach the tarp material to the frame. So I'm going to use these same number 6 sheet metal screws, just like I used to actually put the pack frame together with. But I'm going to use these eyelets, and I got this eyelet kit at Walmart in the hardware department. It's the brand name is Hyper Tough, and what it's going to do is it's going to make an eyelet very similar to what you see in like a tennis shoe, that this screw will actually go through so that it will keep the screw from ripping through the tarp material. Now I finally found a marker that was able to make a mark that I can actually see. I hope you'll be able to see it in the video too. So if you look, you'll see, hopefully you'll see a solid line here and a solid line here, which eventually is going to fold up in this direction and make the side wall for this side of the pack. Okay, and so really all you do is put the base plate that you're going to put attached to your pack frame right in the center of your material, and then you just mark off the 4 sides. So there's a line here, a line here, a line here, a line over here, and then a line that's going up to that side. So at this point, you're going to have to decide if you want to cut and sew the walls of your pack cover together, or if you want to fold them up and use the origami approach, which is what I'm going to do. And the reason I'm trying the origami approach first is if the origami approach doesn't work, I can always go back and actually cut the corners out and fold up the sides and sew them together. But if you try the sew together method first and you sew the seams and you find that it's not going to work the way you thought it would, then you can't back up and try the origami approach, because the material that you cut out is material that you're going to need. So if you try the origami first and it doesn't work, you can always cut it out and sew it together. So I recommend trying that way first. You'll know more about it once I get mine finished. I'll be able to tell you a little bit, about how hard it is to actually make all the folds and everything. So everywhere that I'm going to put a hole in my tarp material, I'm going to put an eyelet for the screw to go through. Okay, so once I get it all folded up and put together, then I'll be putting screws in along the top and along the base plate on the 4 corners to actually attach the cover to the pack frame. Okay, so once you get all of your lines filled in, so if you look here, this is the fold line. If you're going to use the origami approach, you just start at this corner and go straight out to that corner over there. And that'll be where you fold it out, and you'll see how it works once I actually start making it and attaching it myself. But before you take your base plate off of your tarp, you want to mark where these 4 holes are going to be in your tarp material, because that's what's going to align the holes in your pack frame, the holes in the tarp, and the holes in your base plate. That's what's going to make them all line up together. So what I did is I just took a little push pin, and then just going to pop it through, make a hole, pop it through, make a hole, pop it through, make a hole, pop it through, and make a hole. And then you've got 4 pinholes that you'll be able to use to line everything up when you start to put the whole thing together. You'll probably, and I've already checked this, you will need a flashlight to shine through from the other side, because this push pin does not make a very big hole, but that's what you want. You don't want a hole bigger than what you need to start with, because that's gonna increase the opportunity for your pack cover to leak. Okay, we are finally ready to start putting the pack cover on. It's been a long time coming. I'm really hoping that I get this on the first take, so that I don't have to shoot this a second time. So, here we have our base plate that's going to go inside the pack. And I have already put the eyelets through the pack material. And I've taken 4 of these 3-penny nails, and they are going through the base plate and then through the eyelet that is in the base plate underneath. So next step is to actually put the 4 screws in that are going to attach this to the pack frame. So I hope you can see this well enough. So what I'm going to start with, is actually I've got a drawing of the fold lines that I've got marked on the tarp, because I know you can't see them very well. I showed them to you in the last video, but I've actually made a drawing on paper of what the lines actually look like that you can't see. So let me get that, and I'll show that to you before I actually start attaching it. Okay, so this drawing is drawn to, I believe, a 1/4-inch scale. And so here it is. And I think you'll be able to follow what I'm doing here. So if you look at this part right here where it says bottom, this is representing my white plastic base plate here. So if you pretend that this piece of paper here is the same size as my tarp, okay? So the way you're going to lay it out is just going to trace around the base plate underneath here. Once you get it right precisely in the precise center of your material, the center of your base plate is going to go right in the center of this material. And I showed you how you can measure across the corners and where those lines intersect. That's going to show you where the center is. And then all you've got to do, okay, this is going to be where the bottom is. And then you've basically got 4 sides to the pack cover. Okay, so over here, left side, back side,
right side and front side. Now, keeping in mind, I call the front side the part that goes against your back, okay? So the back side doesn't go against your back. The front side goes against your back, the way that I'm calling the different parts, okay? And then I've got my fold lines. It just goes from the corner of your base plate to the corner of your material on all four sides. All right, and then what's going to happen is you're going to fold these up and these up, and then you're going to make a fold on these dotted lines. So if you look right here, you see the letter A. So that is going to match up. When you fold it up, it's going to match up with this letter A over here. This B on the right-hand side is going to match up with this B over here. Same way right here. This C is going to match up with this C. This D is going to match up with this D. So let me just back up for a second. Okay, so you can see how I've got it laid out. And you're just gonna take this and you're gonna lay it out to full scale. So I'm trying to take enough time so that if you need to pause your video, and I'm hoping that it's in focus enough that you can see what the words say. Okay, so hopefully you got that. Okay, so now we're actually ready to put the 4 screws in that are going to attach this base plate. 4 screws in, they're going to attach this base plate to the bottom of the frame over there. So I'm just going to pull this back out of the way to start with. I guess this is the first time you've seen the blue side of this piece of material. I think it's a lot prettier than the green side. Although the color is not going to affect the function whatsoever. All right, and then I'm just going to bring our frame up a little closer. And I'm trying to keep this where you can see what I'm doing, but you can probably figure out pretty easily that the 4 nails are going to match up with this hole and this hole, and then same thing on this side. Yeah, we're going to match this hole and this hole. And this is going to be the part that's going to be hard for you to see. It's pretty hard for me to see also. And one of my nails has got out of place already. But that's going to get us started. Okay, so now that we've got in the general neighborhood, we can kind of fold this back a little bit so that we can see what we're doing. Or you can see what I'm doing. You're not doing anything except watching video right now. Alright, so we're through that eyelet. So I'm going to do these two back holes first. Alright, so I'm actually just trying to feel for the nail as much as look for it. Okay, I got out of the eyelet a little bit. Okay, now I'm back in it. All right. That feels like the right place right there. I'm just not 100% sure. Nope, I was off. Okay, that's in for sure. I can see that. Okay, here's the next one. Okay, I'm through the eyelet. Okay, I'm through that one. Whoops, just popped out. If you're not lined up, you'll know it pretty quickly once you start to try to put the screws in, because they won't go in. Okay, so I am ready to give it a try. So I'm going to be very careful not try not to disturb any of that. And so I'm going to very carefully make sure that's seated. I'm going to as gently as I can, pull that nail out without moving anything. All right, let's see how close we came. How close I came won't be your fault. Okay, that feels like I hit it. I'm not going to tighten it up all the way until I get the other screw in. By the way, when you tighten up these screws in this PVC pipe, you want to not over tighten them. You just want to tighten them down until the head of the screw seats. If you try to tighten these screws with all your might, you will strip the threads out of the plastic that you have made with the screw. And if you do that, that's either going to require you to drill a second hole or go to a bigger size screw and start all over again in the same hole. Come on out, buddy. Boy, this one is just a little bit stubborn. Probably should have made the hole in my rubber gasket material just a little bit bigger than I did. But you know what they say about hindsight and Monday morning quarterbacks. All right, I think I'm still okay. I kind of recommend that you don't use a power screwdriver to do this, or really on any of the screws that you put in. Because you're likely to over tighten your screws if you use a power screwdriver. Because you just don't have that feel of when it's snugging up. They've probably got clutches on them these days. I don't even own a power screwdriver, as you can see. But still, I don't trust those the way I do, you know, just feeling it with my own hand. Screw in there. All right, I believe we got it. I got it. I'll give you a little credit for it if you want a little credit for it. You were encouraging me, I guess. Okay, now for the other two screws, which you may or may not see go in, because you've got the idea now. Okay, that one came out pretty good. Of course, the nail coming out is not the main thing. The screw going in is the main thing. Okay, that felt like it matched. Okay, that feels like it's going in correctly. Good. I am liking this so far. And we'll just tighten the other one up all the way. Okay, so I've got those 4 screws in. It's secured now. And you can see how this part's going to come up like this and make the front wall, what I'm calling the front wall of the pack. But to make the folds, I'm actually going to turn the thing upside down so that gravity is going to be working with me instead of against me. With it upright, you know, when I try to pull these up, gravity is going to try to make them fall back down. So what I'm going to do is turn the whole thing upside down, and then gravity will make my material go the direction that I want to and stay there a little bit easier. Okay, I'm starting to feel confident enough in my method that I'm going to actually
try to shoot some video to show you how I'm tentatively going to try to attach the pack material to the pack frame. So what I have done is actually unfolded the pack. Okay, so I took the screws, the 3 screws in this elbow. On each side, I took all 3 screws out, and then that let this upright portion of the pack, which is normally this way, let it swing up to get it out of the way. Now, it's a little bit disorienting here because I've got the pack suspended upside down. So this is actually the bottom of the pack, and here's the platform that's on the inside. You can see where it's screwed to the pack frame. So I hope that's not too disorienting to you. So all I've done is swivel this part up. It would normally be down here, so I just swung it up to get it out of the way, and then I've just got it resting on this step ladder to keep it out of my way. So we're basically going to do the same thing that we did to my paper model of the pack material, except now it's hanging upside down and inside out maybe, or outside in. Might be a better way of thinking of it. So I'm going to back out here and put you on the tripod. Okay, now I got both hands to work with, and hopefully I'm going to stay out of your way enough that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so if you remember from my paper model, a line from here came down to look at this corner. A line came down from here to locate this corner. Now the problem is those lines are on the inside part of the pack, not on the outside part of the pack. So to find the line that's going to fall on this corner, I'm just taking a flashlight, and I'm really hoping you can see that from where you are. So here's the line, and I'm going to follow that line all the way down. It's right here. And then you probably can't see it from way back there, but what I've done is just put a little short line to mark where that line is. Come over to this corner and do the same thing. It's going to shine your light until you find, yep, there's the line that's on the inside. You're going to follow it down to this edge. And then put a little mark there. Going to do the same thing for every corner. Okay, so we're going to start at this corner. And I know you can't see it from there, but doing the same thing. Just following the line that I can see with my flashlight. And then I marked it there. So you're going to go around all 4 corners, and you should have 2 lines for each corner. So one on this side of the wing and one on this side of the wing. So once you find those corners, okay, now we're going to make our wings. So for this one on this side, I can see my mark right here, and then I'm going to clip that to the corresponding mark over here. So the easy way to do that is just look underneath this piece of material and you can see the line that's on the inside. So we're going to match those two lines up with each other, like that. And I'm just taking a clothespin and clipping it on the outside part of the line. Now I'm going to come over to this corner, black wing. There's my mark on the outside. There's the matching mark on the inside. And I'm going to put the clothespin on the right hand side. So if you've done it nice and evenly, you'll find that this wing, these two edges are pretty much right one on top of the other. Of course, when you get to here, there's nothing on the other side because the material's not doubled right here. Come over here, same way. If you've done it accurately, should be nice and even. And another way you can tell how well you've done is this corner of your material should go straight up to that corner, and you can see it does. Okay, so now, so what do we do with these two big wings? Well, we're gonna fold them inwards to get them out of the way. So what we're going to do, so this marking this corner, all right, so we're just going to kind of pull that down to there. We're going to find this edge back here, and then we're just going to clip onto it. Just going to put our hand inside. Find the edge on the inside. Right there. And we're going to clip it there. A couple of reasons why I'm clipping this together with clothespins. The main reason is that this is my clothesline, so the clothespins are there, so I just decided to use them. The main reason, though, is that I don't want to attach this material together in a way that I can't adjust it a little bit later on. Because once I get this finished, then I'm going to turn it right side up again, get all the wrinkles out, and then start putting the screws through the material to attach it to the pack frame. Okay, so there's another one. And then here's our corner going up to there. So I put this clothespin on the inside, or the right hand side. Okay, so you can kind of see, I put my hand inside there, it's kind of starting to look like Just a big old sack. Alright, so we're going to do the same exact thing with this wing. So here is the line that's going to our corner. Just going to bring this around. Find the bottom edge. She's right about there. Put a couple more clips in it to make sure everything stays in place. And you see it's starting to look more and more like a bag. So now I've got two sides finished. So all I have to do now is go around to the other side, do the same exact thing on the other side, and get all that clipped up together. So I'm not going to actually move the camera around to the other side. Just remember, we're just going to do the same exact thing that you did on this side. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and get all that clipped together. When I get it finished, then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, the origami method was looking pretty promising until I did the other side of the pack where I folded up, and so you can see made the same wings and did the same folds that I did on the back side of the pack. But what I ended up with is this. I mean, this just isn't fitting. And you can see like all of these creases in the pack cover. And it's the same way on the other side, and it's just not going, the amount of pack cover up here is not going to fit down here. And I figured out why. It's really because the bottom of the pack is bigger than the top of the pack. Okay, and I've still got it turned upside down, so just keep that in mind. And if you get a little bit closer, okay, you can see how the platform that I put on top of this, it sticks out. It sticks out past the pack frame. And I was hoping that maybe there'd be enough give in the cover material to make up the difference, but there just wasn't. So what I ended up with is when I measure from this corner, which is the corner that, is the corner of the base plate in the bottom of the material. When I measure from this corner over to this corner, and then I measure from the inside of this pipe, which is what it's going to have to go inside, okay, because this, whatever size the pack cover is, it's going to wrap around like this to attach to these pipes. And the reason for that is that, and you'll see this as we go on. So, here's my hip belt. So both of these this upright and this upright has to be exposed, but because that's what my chest strap is going to go around and come around, connect to the other one. And so a strap, more like a vest really, is going to come around here and have a Velcro closure in the middle. And so that's going to wrap around my chest and keep the pack from falling backwards. So the pack material has to go inside. This frame has to be an external frame. An internal frame won't work without shoulder straps. So anyway, when I measure from this corner to this corner versus inside of this pipe to inside of this pipe, there's 3 inches difference. And 3 inches is quite a bit. And the same thing, when I measure from this corner to this corner, it is 2 inches farther than it is from inside of this pipe to the inside of this pipe. So, what that really means is that the total circumference at the bottom of the pack is 3, 6, it's 10 inches more than the circumference at the top of the pack. 10 inches is a big difference. 10 inches difference in the circumference, that's a lot. So I'm kind of back to the old drawing board. I've really got 2 options. And the first option I'm going to try is to just lay out my pack cover a little bit differently. Instead of, if you remember my A, B, C, and D on the paper scale model that I built, remember how A connected to A, and then you come around to this corner, and B connected to B, C connected to C, and so on. Well, in my original design, I was thinking if I made the top and the bottom the same dimension, that those lines would be perpendicular. Well, now, instead of the lines being perpendicular, because it's bigger at the top than it is at the bottom, my lines are going to be tapered in a bit and tapered in a bit on all 4 sides. Now, that doesn't make any difference because as long as I match up the A with the A, the B with the B, the C with the C, and the D with the D, the 4 lines are still going to be, they're still going to be on top of each other. It's just that now they will taper in, and the top of my pack will actually be smaller than the bottom of my pack. Which, in my way of thinking, is not a terrible thing because I like for the weight of my pack to be more towards the bottom anyway. And I think especially this pack is going to love the weight being in the bottom because that's where all the weight's going to be carried, is on the hip belt. Now, if that doesn't work, and I pray that it will, I have 2 possible alternatives. One is to completely ditch this base plate and get a smaller base plate, which honestly, it has to be at least this big because it has to mount to this pipe. So that kind of is a non-starter in my way of thinking to make the bottom bigger. But what I could possibly do, I don't want to do, but I could possibly do, is make the sides 2 inches bigger this way and make the front and back 3 inches bigger this way, so that the inside of the 4 pipes will actually line up with the corners right here. Not crazy about that idea, because that's going to be pretty big at the bottom of the pack. So I'm going to try taking this all down, remarking my pack cover, and try folding it again. I'll be sure and let you see what that looks like, so you can decide if you want to do the origami method or not. My last resort is going to be to if all else fails, I can always just take my scissors and cut these wings off, and then sew it along that line and that line all the way around. I really don't want to have any seams in the pack cover, because a sewn seam is an opportunity for a leak. But if all else fails, that will definitely work. And it's definitely the most simple way to make your pack cover. But I'm going to try. I'm not going to give up on the origami right off the bat, because I know, like me, you probably don't have a sewing machine to do a bunch of sewing with. So I'm trying to keep from doing any more sewing than I absolutely have to. All right, so I'll be back in a bit and let you know how it works out. Well, I decreased the width at the top of the pack cover and by 3 inches, and also decreased the depth of the pack cover 2 inches to try and make it fit inside this frame. But you can probably see it just still looks, it's just still not fitting. So you can see, hopefully you can see, there's a big wrinkle on this side. It's just not fitting inside here like it should. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually lengthen this piece, whatever it takes for the pack cover to fit inside that frame. So you're going to be able to benefit from my trial and error. So here's what I really recommend that you do when you build your pack, is to go ahead, make this bottom part of the frame, put your platform on it, cut your material big enough to fit whatever size this needs to be. But don't even make this bottom part, which is actually the top part. I would just make this bottom, the base plate, and maybe these uprights, but I wouldn't make this part of the pack frame at all. And then just go ahead, and make your big bag that's going to fit inside the frame, whether you try to fold it together like I'm doing, or just cut it and sew it. But it's going to be much easier to fit your frame to the sack than to try to make the sack fit inside the frame. So that way you know it's going to fit. So really, instead of putting the sack inside of the frame, make your sack and put the frame around it. Then you know it's going to fit. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'll let you see what it looks like when I get that finished. Hopefully a lot better fit. Okay, I finished lengthening the pack frame on the side. I'm not going to tell you how much I lengthened it because you can't go by mine. Yours is going to be different from mine. But you can see it's a lot less puffy than it was. I've got a lot more room down here at the bottom. You can see there's no wrinkles there at all. None over here. And really none over here either. So I think this is going to work. And yours is going to work even better than mine, because if you take my advice and make the bag first and don't make this, then fold up your bag, and you're going to get the top and the bottom the same to start with, where I didn't. Okay, so that's going to make it easier for you. And then once you get your bag hanging down, you've got it all close pinned up, then make the top of your frame to go around that edge, and you should have an even better fit than I've got. So I hope you'll try the origami approach first, because I think mine is going to work, and if mine works, yours is going to work even better, because you're not going to make the same mistakes I made. Well, it looks like we are finally finished. Well, I'm finished. If you decide to do this, you're just going to be starting. It's been a longer process than it might have been. I've just kind of been working on the pack kind of in my spare time. So anyway, here is the unveiling of the final product. And so the things that I've added now, this waist belt or hip belt has been on previously, but I can't remember if I actually showed you how I attached it. And this is actually just a hip belt off of my Mariposa 60. And you can see I've added some of this sheepskin to the belt to make it nice and soft. All these really are shoulder harness covers. You can buy them on Amazon just about like anything else on this planet. But you just hot melt them to your hip belt, and it really does make a difference. But anyway, so here's how I actually attached this hip belt to the pack. So this part right here was not part of the original hip belt. So what I did is I just got some webbing and just made a tube, and I attached it to the hip belt itself with rivets. I think you can see what I did there. Rivets don't show on this side anymore because they're covered up with the sheepskin now. And just a full length, and then obviously underneath the bottom on the other side did the same thing. And it's going to hold it nice and secure. I don't see these rivets ever popping out or anything like that. But what they did leave me with, as you can see, this belt will swivel. And I thought that was going to be a good thing at first, but I actually took it out on trail for a while yesterday, and what I found was when you put the pack on, this belt tries to pivot up in that direction, which makes the bottom of the waist belt press into your back. So what I'm probably going to do is just take a piece of plastic or something that won't rust or deteriorate and put a screw here and a screw here, and then just add a piece across here the same thickness as the outer diameter of this pipe. And then that way, when this starts to pivot up, it'll have something to hit against and keep it from going any farther. As you can see now, it doesn't have anything to stop it from pivoting as far as it can. So nothing really earth-shattering about that. But here is the thing that got me started about thinking about this idea in the very first place. And this is what allowed me to totally eliminate any shoulder straps up here. As you can see, there are no shoulder straps whatsoever. And I took this out on the trail yesterday, and boy, did it really feel good, you know, not to have that weight of the shoulder straps pulling down on your upper traps and on your back either, for that matter, because once you take the shoulder straps away, there's no place the weight can go on this pack except right here on this hip belt. And so your back doesn't feel any of the weight whatsoever. So the way it works, and a little bit of information about the material I made this out of first. It's what they call corset material. And it's very stiff. It won't stretch hardly at all. And it's actually the same material that women use to make corsets out of. And believe it or not, that didn't just go away with Gone with the Wind. It is kind of a fashion thing and kind of a figure shaping thing for the ladies too, I guess. But at any rate, it really works well for this purpose. Now, you probably see a couple of really wide pieces of Velcro. This is 2-inch wide Velcro. And I put 2 strips on it side by side. And so the way this thing works, and I'll put it on in a minute and let you see it, but this is going to wrap around your chest halfway. And then obviously I've got this same thing on the opposite side, but with the hooks on this side. And so it's going to wrap around, and you're just going to put it around you, Velcro it, and that's what keeps the pack from falling backwards once you put your hip belt on. Just like the shoulder straps used to, but without all that pressure being on your upper traps. Okay, the other thing that I have done on it now is to put a lid on it. So up to now, it had been open up here because there's no need to put anything on top of it until I got the whole thing finished. So now I just took a double thickness of this tarp material and used actually the same screw that I used to put the T in that is holding this crossbar in place. And a screw there. And then to keep it fastened, get in a little closer range, so it's just a snap
And so we unsnap it there and there. And then opens up like that. Okay, so you can see, just kind of makes a little bit of a hinge-like motion. As you can see, I've got some holes that didn't exactly end up the right place. It's a little bit of a trial and error. Actually, it's a good bit of trial and error doing this the first time. So hopefully you can benefit from some of my mistakes and not have to make your own. As you can see, I kind of missed it right there too. So I had to kind of adjust the position of these eyelets. Now, speaking of eyelets, okay, you can see that one pretty good right there. You're definitely going to need the eyelet kit that I showed you earlier in the video, because without these eyelets, this material is, I think, 5 mil tarp, and without these eyelets, a screw would just rip right through that. So you're going to need to get that eyelet kit that I showed you earlier. If you're planning on using this material, you may choose to do some other kind of material. So, you know, depending on what you use, if you use this tarp material, though, you're definitely going to need the eyelet kit. Now, something that I added that you may or may not want to add is, up until this point, I hadn't had any like external pockets or anything like that to put stuff in, you know, that was outside the pack. So what I did is I just took a piece of the tarp, doubled it, and I just screwed it in with the rest of the tarp. And so now I've got like a little zipper pouch that, you know, I can keep like first aid kit and, you know, things that I might need to get to quickly. You can get these waterproof zippers on Amazon, just like everything else. Kind of hard to fasten with just one hand though. And then I also made like a little wet pouch here that you can put like your camp sandals, or if you're using a parka or rain pants and you get them wet and then the sun comes out, I just cut up a t-shirt, really, an old like a synthetic t-shirt, moisture wicking t-shirt, and just sewed that on. Well, maybe I should say I had my sister sew it on. She did all the sewing for me. I tried to do as much of this without any sewing as I could, but there's some things that just required some sewing, you know, like making this lid. You know, you have to fold the corners, and they really do need to be sewed in order to hold them in place. Again, a little bit easier to do with two hands. Now, as far as some of the specifics about the pack, I spent about $70 for all the materials that I needed. And I doubt that you can even get a decent day pack for $70. And the weight of the pack, empty, is right at 7 pounds. And I know that sounds like a lot of weight for a pack to weigh, but when you factor in the comfort that you get because you don't have any shoulder straps, that extra weight, you know,
it may be double the weight of a lightweight pack, but it feels so comfortable. I'm willing to carry a few like 3 extra pounds to get that weight off of my shoulders. I measured the inside dimensions, and it's about a 67-liter pack, which is a huge pack. I mean, I have never heard of a pack bigger. I think you can get a 70-liter pack, but 60, 70 liters, that's a big pack. And I just threw some stuff in here to put some weight on it, but I'm not using nearly all the space in this pack. I'm probably using maybe 2/3 of the volume that it has available. I break down on what each individual thing that I use cost. The corset material, as odd as it sounds, was the most expensive thing that I had to buy. And you can probably beat the price that I had to pay on Amazon if you shop around. The problem with the corset material is, they sell it by the yard, and when you buy it on Amazon, there's a minimum amount of yards that they'll sell you. So I had a whole bunch of material left over, but it was $18. The Velcro, which is an industrial strength Velcro, okay, and also got it on Amazon. It was $9. The eyelet kit, which I'll show you what that looks like again. Okay, so this is the pliers that you use to crimp the eyelets together, which I got at Walmart. Brand name is Hypertough. It did a decent job. Had enough eyelets to do the entire pack with plenty left over. So the eyelet kit was $5.44. The PVC pipe that I used was $14.60. The PVC fittings that I used were $8.97. And then the screws that I used to screw it all together with were $4.14. The tarp material that I used was actually some that just during some storm blew up in my backyard, and nobody in the neighborhood seemed to know who it belonged to. So I did look on the Lowe's website, and the price of a tarp can vary a lot. This is, I think, a 5 mil tarp, and you can get those at Lowe's for about $10. If you want a heavier tarp, which of course is going to weigh more, you can spend up to $30 or $40, depending on what thickness of tarp that you want to use. The tools that you absolutely are going to need to have to build a pack like this are a hacksaw, a drill, screwdriver, measuring tape, the eyelet kit that I just showed you, and some type of a hole puncher to make the holes for the eyelets. This is one that I've had for a long time. It makes different sizes of holes. I didn't go out and buy it, I already had it. But you're going to need something to make holes in your tarp to put the eyelets in. So that's the whole enchilada, as they say. So let me pause you here a minute, and I'm actually going to put you on the tripod and put the pack on and let you see how it actually acts when it's on somebody. The hardest thing I've found in dealing with the pack so far is putting it on and taking it off. As simple as that sounds, because you don't have
a shoulder strap here anymore. You can't grab it by the strap and throw it up over your shoulder. And at some point, I may end up putting a smaller strap here just to give me something to lift it by and get it to this position so that then I can come on over and put the waist belt around me. For right now, what I'm having to do is to put the pack on something and then sit down in front of it and put the waist belt and the chest belt on and then stand up. I know that's not a good solution long term, but I'll figure something out. If you figure something out, you let me know what you try if you decide to do this. So I've got a good bit of weight in this pack right now, about 27 pounds is what I've got inside of it. So I've got a pretty fair amount of weight in the pack to show you how it's going to act. I usually try to keep the contents of my pack down to under 30 pounds if possible. Okay, so I strap the waist belt as high as I can. Now I'm going to lean back into the pack, pull this piece around, and that gets the Velcro caught. So then I'm going to stand up, kind of adjust the position some, and then I'll cinch the weight belt up good and tight. So voila, your shoulder straps, and honestly, I mean, I just don't feel hardly any weight on my hips at all. This chest strap, you know, you can adjust it to any tightness that you like. Okay, so you can see from the side view here, if that was too tight, I can let a little bit out. And you can see that gives a little bit of space back here between me and the pack. Now that lets it wobble a little bit, but you know, if I'm going up a steep incline and I'm breathing hard, I can take deep breaths like that just by loosening this chest strap a little bit. And because it does not wrap around my whole body, you know, it only goes to this pipe and this pipe on each side. So it's not squeezing my entire body, it's just resting against my chest. And all this chest strap is doing is keeping the pack from falling backwards that way. And so even with it relatively loose here, actually, I mean, there's about a hand space between me and the pack right now since I loosened it. And you can see, yeah, it's got some movement to it. If I didn't like that, you know, I could tighten it up a bit tighter, and then it doesn't wiggle quite as much. So I've taken it out on the trail. I probably went for about a half-a-mile hike yesterday just to kind of see what it was going to feel like, find any bugs that I need to work out. And I found the first one is, you know, getting this hip belt where it stays, the back of it stays straight up and down instead of, you know, swiveling backwards like that. The other thing I haven't quite figured out yet either, you know, normally in the past, I would always attach my camera to this shoulder strap and my bear spray to this shoulder strap. So there's no shoulder straps anymore. So about the only alternative I have is to put some type of daisy chain or something on this chest strap, and then put my bear spray right here and my camera here. You know, all things to be worked out as we go along. So I think I have taken you through this whole journey. I know it's been a very long video. I could have broken it into smaller pieces, I guess, but I really wanted to just put the whole thing together so you could see it from beginning to end without having to, you know, stair-step through a whole bunch of videos. Now, let me make a disclaimer. I would not jump into this thing and start building the pack tomorrow. Give me some time to test this one out some before you spend a bunch of money. And, you know, after going on a few hikes, I find that this thing just falls completely apart. And, you know, I was completely out of left field whenever I came up with this idea. So I'd rather for you to learn from what mine is, rather than you have to start over or find out that yours isn't going to work either. Because really, time is the only thing that's going to prove this thing out or not. I was hoping that we would get some rain today and I could actually put the pack out in the rain and see how waterproof it really is, but we really haven't gotten much more than a sprinkle today. The other thing I'd like to say is, you know, be responsible for your own safety. I'm going to test this thing out a whole lot during the winter before I even think about taking it on an actual backpacking trip. And I'm telling you, you do the same thing, okay? Because, you know, really, this whole video has just been to give you an idea about what you can do, but none of this has been proven out on the trail yet. So make sure that you can rely on whatever pack you build, if you build one, and that it's going to be able to do what you need for it to do, and you're not going to get yourself in a bad situation because your pack failed to work. And you know, yours is not going to be exactly like mine. And that's part of the beauty of it. You can make the pack the size that you need for it to be, the shape that you need for it to be. Now, if anybody sees this video, I am not going to seek a patent for this chest strap idea. I do know that the ME2 day pack, I'm sure they have patented their pack. So obviously if you try to apply for a patent or something, you have to do a patent search and all the stuff that goes along with that. But if any backpacking companies see this, I hope that they will actually pursue this idea of, you know, a 60-liter backpack with no shoulder straps, because it is very comfortable. I mean, I could go for I don't know how long. It's putting very little pressure on my hips at all, but not having that pulling down on your shoulders, that is just lovely, lovely. As I field test the pack, I will post some updates, especially if I find something critically wrong that's going wrong. Probably the tarp material is going to be, that's the biggest unknown. It's the tarp that I use is pretty thin stuff, so I just don't know how it's going to hold up. Obviously, you know, you could make your pack frame out of lightweight aluminum tubing or carbon fiber or fiberglass. There's a multitude of variations that you could do with this idea. You know, you could make it out of Dyneema, and you know, if I come into a large sum of money,
that might be something that I try, because this folding up tarp material, this origami method that I used should be pretty watertight, but it does add some weight to it, and the material is not as tough and durable as Dyneema would be. So I hope that you're able to see me put the pack on. My camera may be tilted a little bit in the wrong direction, but obviously when you take it off, you're just gonna, for now anyway, sit down and just reverse the process. So if any of you end up building your own pack, I would really love for you to leave me a comment in the comments section and know how it turns out for you. And if you have some better ideas than I did, I would be glad to hear them, and I'm sure other people would too. So for now, that is everything that you should need to know to build your own pack.